the State of the City address has been held during a traditional Rotary meeting for more than 40 years and is co-hosted each year by the Salem City Club, the Rotary Club of Salem, and the Salem Area Chamber of Commerce in conjunction in cooperation with the City of Salem and the Office of the Mayor. My name is Allan Pollock, and I'm the president of Salem City Club, and I'll be your host for today's events. To begin with, I'd like to take a moment to introduce some local elected officials who are joining us today. So as I call your name, if you could please raise your hand or stand to be recognized. State Representative Denise Bowles, Marion County Commissioner Sam Brantano, Marion County Commissioner Kevin Cameron, Kaiser Mayor Kathy Clark, President of the Chariots Board of Directors Bob Krebs, Chariots Board members Kathy Lincoln, Steve Evans, and Colleen Bush, and Salem Kaiser School District Board member Sharon Blasi. And if there's any other elected officials who I failed to mention, if you could please also stand so we can recognize you. So how about a round of applause for elected officials? I'd also like to take this time to thank the McKay High School String Quartet who played background music during our lunch. And we're especially appreciative of them because they took time out of their spring break to perform for us. So thank you very much. The quartet is coordinated by Caleb Kastner, a student at McKay. And we're very fortunate to have the great student musicians here in Salem. This is a great representative group of those musicians. The quartet has put together a special piece for us today, so let me turn it over to Caleb, who will introduce the members of the quartet and tell you a little bit about the number they're going to perform.
Hello. I'm Caleb Kastner, and we're all sophomores at McKay High School. This is Daisy Cervantes, Priscilla Garcia, and Adrian Cervantes. We'll be playing the second movement of Teleman's Viola Concerto. Thank you.
Thank you, members of the McKay High School String Quartet. I would now like to welcome Rabbi Avraham Perlstein from Shabbat Salem to the podium for our invocation, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Honorable Mayor Chuck Bennett, esteemed city councilmen and women, city officials, citizens of Salem, I am honored to stand before you today to share this invocation. In just 2 days, this coming Friday, we will mark the first night of the Jewish holiday of Passover, arguably the most celebrated Jewish holiday of the year. Jews all over the world will sit down to a Passover Seder, and they will retell the story of our Egyptian slavery and bondage, and the miracles that led to our redemption to freedom and to receiving the Torah, the Bible on Mount Sinai. The challenge today is to find the practical lessons in every story that we learn, let alone a biblical one. And then we need to find how these lessons actually apply to our modern 20th century life. There are many, but not to worry, I'll just share one with you today. Egypt in Hebrew is Mitzrayim. You want to repeat that? Well, later. Egypt in Hebrew is Mitzrayim. The word Mitzrayim comes from the word root in Hebrew called meitzar, which is constriction, limitation. So Egypt, translated into Hebrew, is Meitzar Yim, the city or the location of limitations. Egypt in today's day would be the representation of limitations that hold us back from doing and accomplishing what it is we need to be doing to live a successful life in all areas of life. It is the baseless rationale that enslaves us to our insecurities. It is the voice within us that tells us that we are not worthy of the success that we seek. It is the voice that tells us that it would be hypocritical for us to do this if we just did that. It is the voice that tells us that we are not ready to take the next step forward because we still need to fix, do, perfect, become, whatever, X, Y, and Z. Mitzrayim in our life is all of the rational calculations that end up being sophisticated excuses of why we don't accomplish what it is we need to do, even when we know that it's right. On Passover, however, we celebrate redemption from this bondage. It is a time of freedom from slavery, the time of the year that we look at our shortcomings, at our insecurities, at our checkered past, and we tell them all to take a back seat, for I will no longer remain enslaved to them, for I am free. I have the ability to free myself from all of this, to transcend it all and leave my personal Egypt, leave the constraints that hold me back from becoming the success I know I can become. Turns out, Passover is not just a commemoration of a historic time, event, and place. It is a time we stand up, we stand free, we face our fears, we take risks, we make commitments, and we free ourselves of what holds us back. For we all know that if we move forward, God will fight off those pharaohs, and he will split the seas that are in our life. For our sages tell us, Ein davar omed lifnei haratzon. Nothing stands in the way of human desire. So as we are about to hear the State of the City address, we remember that regardless of where our city stands today, or as our community stands, the human spirit is designed to grow and never be satisfied with the status quo. We need to take our communal fears head on, join together in unison, and march to freedom. Freedom translated as success for all Salem residents, freedom to be able to succeed beyond our wildest dreams, freedom of knowledge that we can and we will make Salem a more perfect place for all who call it home. We pray that our Salem leadership be instilled with the wisdom and the know-how to take the city there, that they be given the health and the calmness of mind to guide our city towards greatness. May Salem live up to its name, Salem of Ir Shalom, the city of peace, and may it become a light to the cities all across the world, showing how a city can live, be successful, and benefit all of its inhabitants for the good. Oseh Shalom B'Romav, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael. Amen. May he who creates peace in heaven create peace down below, and let us say Amen. Thank you.
Now, if you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd now like to introduce the head table, who's featuring our Salem City Council. From Ward 1, Councilor Kara Kaiser. Ward 2, Councilor Tom Anderson. Ward 3, Councilor Brad Nanke. From Ward 4, Councilor Steve McCoy. Ward 5, Councilor Matt Osick. Ward 6, Councilor Chris Hoy. Ward 8, Councilor Jim Lewis. And unfortunately, Ward 7 Councilor Sally Cook couldn't join us today. How about a round of applause for our City Council? I'd also like to introduce the representatives of our partner organizations today. First, please stand Bruce Anderson, who's the president of the Rotary Club of Salem. And Kurt Arthur, who's the president of the Salem Chamber of Commerce, couldn't be with us today, but President-elect T.J. Sullivan is here today acting on his behalf. It's my privilege now to introduce our mayor, Chuck Bennett, to deliver his second State of the City address. Salem Mayor Chuck Bennett took office on January 4th, 2017, serving in his first term as mayor. His record of 9 years on city council and dedicated service to Salem resulted in street improvements, the sidewalk replacement program, increased funding for public safety, and other livability initiatives. Mayor Bennett is also a former state representative and a graduate of Willamette University. He's married, has one daughter, and lives in Northeast Salem, and he's joined by his wife today, Sherry, who's somewhere out there in the audience. Professionally, Mayor Bennett was a government affairs representative for public school leaders for more than 18 years, and he owned his own government affairs business prior to that. He also worked as a newspaper reporter and editor in the 1970s and early 1980s. In his tenure as volunteer with the City of Salem, Mayor Bennett has served as president of the City Council. He's chaired several City Council committees. He's served on the Salem Public Library Board, the Cultural and Tourism Promotion Advisory Board, the Budget Committee, and the Planning Commission. He's also a former board member of the Pinnacle Theater and the Oregon Council for the Humanities. So now please join me in welcoming Salem Mayor Chuck Bennett to the podium.
Don't be frightened. My eyes have gotten so bad, I have to put this stuff in huge type to read it, so it just looks longer than it is. I am just really appreciative of the City Club, the Salem Area Chamber of Commerce, and my own Downtown Rotary for putting this event on each year. It's a real opportunity for the mayor representing City Hall and our members of the council to talk about the kinds of issues we're dealing with, have dealt with, and where we are and where we're going. So I really appreciate it. Before I get launched into a lot of information, let me give you the punchline. I'm an old newspaper guy, and they call it the lead. It's really, what's the story here? What's this guy going to tell us? It also allows those of you who need to leave early an opportunity to have at least a quick explanation of what the mayor said. This has been a very exciting, eventful, and successful year in Salem on every single front. We can all be justifiably proud of what we've accomplished this year. Oregon's family-friendly capital and second largest city, is undergoing a makeover, and I couldn't be happier, frankly, to be mayor as I am right now. It's been just a genuine pleasure. And I also want to thank Rabbi Perlstein for setting the tone for this by describing for you what this holiday period means to all of us and what it means in terms of the kinds of values that I hope we're all bringing to City Hall. Nothing in government or most other endeavors, as all of you know, is done by any one person. It takes thousands of volunteer hours from our involved and committed citizens and hard work by this city council and our really unmatched professional staff. I want to take just a moment as the mayor to introduce the professional staff that's here with us today. These are the folks, for all of us who so often get our names in the papers, these are the folks who really do the really heavy lifting, who help us try to represent this city in, I think, a truly remarkable and professional way. First, our just incomparable city manager, Steve Powers. We are so fortunate. We are so fortunate to have Manager Powers in place. We really lucked out when we found him in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I've got to particularly thank Councilor Anderson, who went on the reviewing trip and came back and said, you gotta see this guy. So it was a really successful trip. So thank you, Councilor. City Attorney Dan Atchison. Director of Public Works Peter Fernandez. Our Director of Human Resources, Mina Hansen. The single best chief of police anywhere, bar none, Jerry Moore. I like to see if I can get him to blush every once in a while. He is just a great guy. And I'm going to talk a little about this building that's the outcome of the kind of confidence that we all have in him. Fire Chief Mike Niblock. Director of Urban Development, Kristen Rutherford. Kristen proves there are good things coming out of Wilsonville, if you can get out of Wilsonville. Director of Salem Housing Authority, Andy Welch. Our new Director of Community Development, Norman Wright. I'm not sure if she's here. She's on my list, so I want to be sure to acknowledge her. And that's former city manager and world traveler Linda Norris, if she's here. And our municipal judge, Jane Aiken. And then there's a group of folks I want to be sure to mention, and those are the folks who did so much to work to put this on today. Tammy Carpenter and Linda Rose from the Mayor and Manager's Office. Tammy and Linda are here. Where is Krishna? Krishna, I am... Whoa, see the IQ of Krishna Namburi, the head of our IT department. I'm sorry. You will all recognize Krishna. Her son is the student who got a perfect score on the PSAT. Right? Just amazing. Christian and I talked about it the other day. I'm just blown away. But I can still remember taking the SAT and wondering, how could you get any of this stuff right? So congratulations. And then Corey Pratt from the Chamber of Commerce. Chuck Swank from the Rotary Club and Sidney Gardo from Salem City Club were three of the folks who helped put this together. And then, just this is personal, and it's something the mayor gets to do whether you like it or not. I happen to love it. I want to introduce my wife, Sherry, who really enables, enlivens, and enriches my life to make all of this kind of activity that you heard described earlier possible. So, Sherry, thank you for being here. Give them the wave. The city this past year conducted its second survey of citizen satisfaction and concerns. A lot of us wait to hear what the outcome is. A strong majority, and this is the kind of good news we hope we'll hear. It's the second year we've heard this. A strong majority of our residents think that Salem is moving in the right direction, and the positivity is very high across all demographic groups. This isn't just one part of Salem is happy. Isn't just South Salem's having a good time and those poor folks in Northeast, get your sidewalks fixed sometime. That's not what we're hearing. It's across the board. People are happy with the Salem city government. A notable 9 in 10 residents approve of city services in general. These are very high numbers, by the way. When it comes to specific services, satisfaction is very high for those typically considered to be the basics of good government, such as emergency services. Residents also have a measure of trust in the city to spend public dollars for the public good. And a majority are satisfied with the value they receive for the taxes they pay. Now, those of you in business, you can't have much better response than we're happy with giving you the money, and we're happy with the way you're spending it. And by the way, the work you're doing is being done quite well. The survey, though, did show a really marked increase in public concern about homelessness and affordable housing. I don't think that's probably news for anyone in this room. Last year, I announced a city initiative to deal with the portion of our homeless citizens who are not being served by other government or private programs. We call them the hardest to house. It's somewhat euphemistic. These are the people who are homeless. They have been for many years. They suffer from health and mental health or addiction issues, and in many cases have criminal histories. For those of you who own rentals, think about that for just a moment. This is your new tenant, okay? Been homeless for years, they've got mental health, addiction problems, etc. Because I'm going to talk to you a little about what's happened here. With substantial assistance from the Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency and its Arches program, the Salem Housing Authority began the Homeless Rental Assistance Program. This is the largest Housing First program in the state of Oregon. Housing First, and these terms become interesting as you learn more about them. Housing First is viewed as the best practice in dealing with homelessness in any community. 43 individuals have been permanently housed since we began this program in July. 77 persons are fully enrolled in the program, which includes not just housing, but wraparound social services. Remember how I described them: mental illness, physical illness, addiction, often former prison convictions or felony convictions. These are folks who lost their network. They've got nobody underpinning them. And we have brought together, I think, a group of services to help support them. Beginning in June 2018, three of these clients are moving out of this program. They have been so successful, they're just moving into the standard housing program. They came after, say, 10 to 12 years on the streets, addicted to drugs and alcohol. They're moving into their own homes. This is, I think, a remarkable achievement, but I live in a world I live in a world where recovery from these kinds of issues occur one person at a time, one day at a time. And that, I think, is essential to remember as you try to change people's lives and help them out of what can be horribly degraded condition. This isn't going to be done for thousands. We will not totally solve this problem, but we are going to save people's lives as a community. I want to introduce a hero in this program, and it really is one of the landlords. I am so proud to have been given the chance to introduce her to you. This program relies heavily on the willingness of local landlords to participate in this program and accept the hardest to house individuals in our community. Remember how I described this tenant, and if any of you have ever rented, I just suspect you haven't rented to this person, these people that I talked about. Rhonda King. Rhonda, please stand up. Rhonda not only has rented to these folks, by the way, she's property manager for JPM Property Management. Rhonda hasn't just provided apartments for a couple of folks. Rhonda has rented to 19 of the 43 people we have housed. Rhonda, thank you. Thank you so much. She is a truly amazing and wonderful ambassador for this program, and I know she shares with her fellow landlords, because this is right now heavily dependent on the local landlord community joining us. Overall, the Salem Housing Authority estimates that 500 to 600 individual families who are currently receiving Section H vouchers or living in Housing Authority subsidized housing would be homeless without that support. So we're working with folks in the hundreds as well. The city has also worked with the Salem Housing Authority, which is sort of one of our subsidiaries, in recently acquiring property on Fisher Road. By moving it into the urban rural area, we're going to provide 29 single-room occupancies for just the kind of clients we're talking about. It's the sort of supportive housing we need for the chronically homeless. Remember what these single-room occupancy situations are? We used to have them here in Salem. The old Senator Hotel, that was a single-room occupancy in many cases. There's others that are examples where we've seen tremendous change in this city. We lost a lot of that kind of housing. We're having to recreate it. As part of the public-private partnership associated with the Fisher Road, though, we also have received a grant for $270,000 from Salem Health Foundation to provide 6 medical respite beds at that same property. This medical respite care is essential. It deals with post-acute medical situations among homeless people who are too ill and frail to recover from their physical injury or illness on the streets, but really not ill enough to be in the hospital. We will have 6 rooms just devoted to taking care of those clients. And just in case the basic humanity of this doesn't catch you, there's a major cost savings in hospital costs that comes with it. So this is the kind of government doing right on many levels. I've also created and appointed a task force chaired by Downtown City Councilor Kara Kaiser to address homeless issues in the downtown area. We're expecting a report, right? Soon. Excellent. One of the major changes coming is the decision by Union Gospel Mission, the city's largest shelter, to move north of downtown, and the arrival of the Mid-County Community Action Agency at Union and Front Streets. The city has also decided to proceed with purchase of the old Union Gospel Mission site at some future date when they move. In cooperation with the county, the state, Salem Health, the Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency, and Bridgeway, we are developing a sobering center in this town. This is a center to provide quality service to residents needing help other than the current practice of taking them to jail or hospital emergency rooms to deal with excessive alcohol or drug consumption. It's quite simple. We're not going to put them in jail, and we're not going to run them through the emergency room. We're going to take them to a place specifically to deal with people in that vulnerable condition. It wasn't just homelessness that has the public concerned in this town. The second big issue that is facing us is congestion. We're growing. We've got a street system designed for 60 to 80,000 people. We have 169,000 people living here, plus a much larger market area. In response, I've created a downtown bridge congestion subcommittee of the City Council that's meeting to develop specific projects to begin to relieve the congestion that particularly has developed in the downtown and bridgehead areas. It is a problem that's not going to be resolved by a third bridge. That is stalled right now, and we will continue, as this town has for 50 years, to talk about a third bridge. Okay, so I hate to change the conversation for all of you, so that you can continue to talk among yourselves about why haven't we got that third bridge. But count on it, this city is not shrinking. Congestion is going to get worse. Our basic north-south system is overwhelmed. Our east-west system is overwhelmed, and we need to come to grips with it. And I'm very hopeful that this committee will find, and along with our professional staff, right, Peter, we will find, won't we? Yeah, we are going to find some ways to solve those problems and get you through town a little quicker. I want to talk to you a little about the economy of Salem, because it is a particularly bright spot and one that just has every sign of moving forward. Permit activity has increased for all construction types. In the past year, the city has issued 553 new building permits valued at $371 million. Included are 125 new commercial and industrial building permits with a total value of over $203 million. And during the time period I'm covering, from February of last year to February of this year, we've issued 59 multifamily permits for 647 new apartment units in the community. And there are 363 permits out for single family and duplex units. In case, I think I said it last year, but let me say it just again, because I think it always ought to be repeated. The recession is over. We are really booming along here in Salem. In the past year, the city also adopted an accessory dwelling unit program. So far, only 6 folks have taken advantage of that. You're thinking of a tiny home or something else with the mother, and I use this term knowing I will be criticized, the mother-in-law unit, because I can't remember what the other terms are for those. I guess accessory dwelling unit is the new term. Only 6 so far. Come on, here's a chance for the kids to move home into something besides the basement, you know? Take advantage of it. Vacancy rates are declining in all sectors. From 2014 to 2017, we've seen our rates go down from 9 to 6%, and rents continue to rise steadily. Vacancy rates for retail uses have declined to 3.4%. Industrial vacancy rates remain very low, and pricing continues to rise. The vacancy rate in Salem in that sector is about 1.7%. And what the good news is, and this sometimes is good news, bad news, higher rental rates mean higher construction activity, as people realize they can actually make money building some of these kinds of offices. I know that's true because TJ Sullivan is going to open Parkfront. And right, TJ, they make money these days on these? Excellent. Through our partnership with Sedcor and participation in statewide networks, we're working to support the growth of existing industrial businesses in Salem. There are several new industrial businesses making investments here. They're particularly out at the Mill Creek Corporate Center. The 180,000 square foot Henningsen cold storage is badly needed by our food processing industry. We've got several spec buildings being done, four of them by Pac Trust, adding up to about 395,000 square feet. And then the mother of all buildings, the 1 million square foot Amazon Procurement Center, our biggest building in town, will be opening this summer. 1,000 new jobs. We can't thank SEDCOR and those folks engaged in economic development enough for bringing that kind of employment opportunity to this community, particularly as we see a transitioning basic industry going on here. Several of our industrial businesses completed expansions this year. Kettle Foods enlarged, had a $5 million Salem facility, so they just continue to send those fabulous chips all over the world from Salem, Oregon. It allows them to process, I just got to share this with you, 100 million tons of potatoes here in Salem. So when you smell the chips in the air, it's sort of like stumps on the hill, money in the till attitude of the old industries. The city and SEDCOR have assisted Cabinotch, Cabdoor, Procure, PES, Watershed, Western Construction Systems, Vagabond, and several other local companies in growth that they wanted to do in our urban renewal areas. In December, the Urban Renewal Agency approved amendments in our McGilchrist urban renewal area that allowed the relocation and expansion of one of this community's legacy industry represented businesses, Oregon Fruit, to occupy the vacant Norpac building and at 22nd and Mendrota, and kept 95 important jobs in a business that's been here since our great-great-grandparents lived here. I was very excited to see this happen. The thought of Salem losing Oregon Fruit just really gnawed at all of us, I think, that could possibly happen, and fortunately it didn't. Another exciting, it's just all over town. I just thought I'd share this because maybe some of you don't get out into Chris Hoy's district very often, out east of Lancaster. But let me tell you, Lancaster Mall, that is Willamette Town Center now, is going through a huge remodel. New businesses are arriving there. Hobby Lobby has shown up. They're doing twice what they thought they would when they arrived here in Salem. And we're seeing the same thing. Sierra Trading Post is moving in out at Willamette Town Center. Regal Cinemas out there is remodeling. They're going to have those kind of massage chairs that you don't want to go to the 7 o'clock or later show, or you'll spend the evening sleeping through the... We've been working closely with small business startups. Our strategic plan identifies as a priority, this is the city's, to support growth of business startups in our community. We've done a whole range of activities in this area. We continue also to work in the small business retention program to ensure responding to the needs of small business. That's businesses with less than 25 employees. We do this in partnership with the local Small Business Development Center. We have a technology sector. This was not totally news to me, but I attended the tech lunch recently and discovered there are 1,000 people, minimum, this is kind of a guesstimate, 1,000 people working in the tech industry in Salem. They are an important employer. It represents 50 companies in Salem are in the tech business. Here's some of the firm names. If you haven't heard of them, I was real taken with some I've heard of, some I hadn't. Regato, BookBite, ESHA, Garmin, Open Dental Software. And then there's just a whole series of small emerging businesses. and they have workspace together. Some of them are over in the Reed Opera House. It's really interesting to go in up there on about the third floor of the Reed and visit the common workspace and watch all these people with small businesses coding. This is a dispersed sector that we're learning quite a bit about, and it's one that's very exciting. One of the challenges for cities Salem size is its workforce and whether we have the workforce that's necessary. We have worked very closely with Salem Kaiser School District's Career and Technical Education Center, which is I can't tell you, a real game changer in terms of some of the workforce development needs in this community. Through our Urban Renewal Agency, and I've got to thank the City Council for this because I think it's one of the most informed decisions I've seen in a long time, we have given $2 million to the Career and Technical Education Center. Generally, that isn't what urban renewal districts do. In fact, I get calls regularly from school districts all over the state. How did you get Salem or any city to invest in their local school district in this way? It is that uncommon an event for that kind of investment. The result is there's 270 kids currently enrolled at CTEC. It will grow to having 60 new staff members and 1,000 students over the next few years, and they are creating the workforce that is a game changer for this community. It will make all the difference as time passes that we have this kind of educated, well-trained workforce in the city of Salem. We continue at the city to look for ways to partner with CTEC, with the Career and Technical Education Center. One that we're looking at right now is working with their robotics classes, which is interesting. I get the major in robotics. My idea of robotics is the Big Bang Theory and those two robots with saws fighting. I have no idea what the rest of it is, but apparently it's pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. We're working with Salem Airport and their new business plan to see if we can develop a drone program that allows them to work out at the airport. We are, by the way, launching a business plan for the Salem Airport. This is not going to begin with commercial service, although looking around the room, I see some friends who just would really dearly love, isn't that right? Dearly love not to have to drive to Portland or Eugene to fly, I guess, to Salt Lake City. But we are not quite there yet. We're going to continue to always look at that issue. We have some interesting possibilities in terms of where is Salem headed in that area. It isn't here today, so don't start booking your tickets too early. But we do have 70 acres of vacant land, and it is not fully developed. And we are going to be focusing on where Salem Airport fits into our new economy here, the hangars, the potential industrial commercial activities that can go on out there. We continue to explore food preparation and storage facilities on Portland Road. This is some urban renewal activity. Streetscape improvements are occurring out on Portland Road in the North Gateway area, essentially Bill Fry to Hyacinth. We're bringing forward a streamlining of the West Salem business district that will allow a much more rapid response to people's interests in development in West Salem. The city's website, I think, represents the kind of portal that people who live in a modern society expect as they approach their city government, where you can gather information, you can find out what's going on, you can help us make decisions. I'm very excited about it. Particularly, I just want to call your attention to our business resource guide with information on grants and loans, workforce training, and other kinds of support. Some of the most exciting activities. I want to talk about a few things we're looking forward to because I think they're important. They are to me. First, thank you, thank you, thank you. The voters of Salem passed 2 bond measures in the past year. That's a remarkable event. You don't put out, usually we're always told, just put one out. They'll never get them around to it on a second round. No, you all voted for 2 bond measures, and here's the outcome of the one that is the single biggest construction project for the city of Salem since we built City Hall. And that's our new police station, 107,000 square feet. 107,000 square feet of modern police facility at commercial and division. And this, we're not done. We're in the process. Chief is leading this process, he and his deputy chiefs, in developing public ideas around what this building is used for. There will be public space. There will be places for people to have meetings, to have events, particularly if you need some cops present for them. This will be a great spot. We're starting to think about moving those city council meetings down there. The demolition of the site began a few days ago. Jerry Moore surprised us one more time with his expertise on whatever that thing was you were driving. The thing we couldn't name, I think, is what he was driving. They're working on design work. We'd like to have you step in on that. It'll be completed by 2020. So you'll have to continue to come down to the current police station, 26,000 square feet, at the bottom of an unseismically reinforced city hall. So come anytime. But the voters didn't stop there. The voters followed that, supporting a seismic upgrade of the city library. It all played on the kind of safety of children. I'm one of those people who's over there a couple times a week. It's just across the plaza from my office, so it gives me a place to walk to and look at books. We're going to be upgrading that over the next couple of years. It will be seismically secure. The parking structure will be seismically secure. There will be new carpet, new HVAC. And one of the things that was finally thought of, is one of those, how do you put one of these kind of things together, is we need to replace all those bookshelves, because you could be inside this building and it won't fall on you. You'll have a ton of books fall on you. So we're going to be doing some work on that. Also in the library, and I want to call your attention to, if you haven't been to the library lately, it changes. It does. And the Barbara Gaylor Reading Room is one of the loveliest spots in town to just go and sit quietly and read. Paul Gaylor made this contribution in loving memory of his late wife. It is a beautiful spot. It's worth visiting the library just to see it. A year-long study is underway here in Salem on how to redo our downtown streetscape. And I'm not talking baskets of flowers and buckets of trees. This is a serious look at the width of our sidewalks, at the kind of mix of natural and built environment that creates a place you want to go shop, eat, listen to music, visit with friends. This is, I think, going to be a dramatic change in how we use and look at our downtown. We are serving a community that is demanding something special here. We have a burgeoning entertainment industry in this town. I know I've gotten too old. I'm not out enough anymore. But I'll tell you what, every night there is music, there's dancing, there's theater, there's just the general scene of people having coffee or a drink together or a meal together. This is a town, particularly in our downtown, that is extraordinarily vibrant. And if you get a chance, try to catch it. And we're going to do everything we can as a city to support that new and exciting industry and employer in this community. And we're not going to stop until we figure it out. Part of it may well be an entertainment district that just encourages that, changes the parking rules, sets up a little more noise, whatever it takes. And we're building housing downtown, lots of housing. I mean, it isn't just the South Block. It isn't Gaylor, just the 40 units that Paul Gaylor's building over on Union and front, or on Chemeketa and Front Street. there is a variety of housing projects on the second stories. There are new buildings being planned. This is a really exciting period. Riverfront Park. I don't know how many of you enjoyed the fact that we had an eclipse and we let people camp in the parks. I know my email filled on that. And I want to thank the city manager for that decision. The outcome of this community opening up and having people come visit. I don't know how many of you got out into the parks. Was down in Riverfront Park. I just got nothing but thank you in multiple foreign languages, including New York. It was really an interesting experience. So we were talking about, there's a Perseid shower. I keep thinking, how about we all go camp in the park and watch the stars or something? I so enjoyed that. I thought that was a delightful time. We completed the Peter Courtney Minto Island Bridge. We can build bridges in Salem. We are going to honor our first citizen, Jerry Frank, with the Jerry Frank Rotary Amphitheater. And I am so excited about that. There's a new building going up by the carousel that's going to be devoted exclusively to places for people to carve and us to go watch them, and for the horses to be displayed. The stable, I thought that was cute, as the stable. There's 4 additional acres coming to Riverfront Park. There's going to be a lot of changes down there. Echo Earth needs to be restored. In case no one noticed, at least pieces of Africa are falling off, but I noticed some other parts seeming to droop. That is going to be an interesting project. We'll be calling on all of you to dig into your wallet to help us fund that, because that is going to be a pretty major project. And, God, it just gets better. It's so exciting. I tell you, I actually brought my bicycle down from our cabin up in Gates. I got so excited about all this because we're working now on opening up the bicycle path that essentially runs from Willamette University over on 12th Street all the way through to the Echo Earth. And then once you hit Echo Earth, you can make your decision. You want to go over to Minto Island Park, or do you want to go over to Wallace Marine Park? And just to make it more difficult for you, at Church Street, we're going to be offering a linear park, take you up to Bush's Pasture Park. We're going to be connecting all of those parks together. This is going to be Park City. We're Tree City, been Tree City for a year. We're going to be Park City before this thing's over. I'm very pleased with that coming together. And for those of you who like your winter sports and have seen I, Tanya, we had an ice rink this year. And that was, I tell you, I got more comment on that, particularly, no wonder you're so goofy you seem to land on your head kind of comments. As the only injured skater, apparently. Out of 34,228 people who went skating down at Riverfront Park this winter. That's amazing. And apparently, they attracted 20,000 people who wanted to see if anybody fell down and cracked their head, So we had 20,000 more. The most common comment or call I get from the governor of this state, who I've known for a long time, great lady, is, when are you gonna do the year-round ice rink here? She was down there on a regular basis with friends and family ice skating. I was just here, sitting right over here with her the other day at one of her events, marketplace event, and when are you gonna get a hold of the people who are gonna build this ice rink year-round? Because I want to skate year-round. Well, you got a house, you need an ice rink too. What's going on? The city's on track to reopen Station 11 in West Salem this year. Right? And we are going to open, I got to do this twice for the city manager. I want him to know this. We are going to open Station 11 this year. It will add a full engine company to this community's really important emergency services. I also want to mention a partnership with the Salem Fire Foundation that trained 2,800 eighth grade students on how to use CPR and AED. What's that mean? Automatic external defibrillators, AED. So when you see the sign AED, just in case you wondered what that is, it's a way to save your life. So far, 10,000 people in this community have been trained in this area. In 2017, and again, God, I hate to keep referring to my age. I'm retiring day after tomorrow, so I'm really into this age deal right now. In 2017, cardiac survival rate in Salem reached 57.1%. That's more than double the national average of 28.1. Congratulations, Chief. This is a remarkable program. We call it a fire department, but let me give you the statistics because we on the council have learned a lot more over the past several years about what this department does. They answered last year 23,435 calls, which was up just over 5% from the year before. Of those, 17,400 were for medical emergencies. That's what these guys are doing. They're saving lives every single day. 546 were fire calls. The rest were apparently false alarms. I don't know what the others were. If it seems brighter around town, Peter Fernandez and his crew have changed out all of our old lamps to LEDs. It is brighter around town. In case you wondered what your lighting fee was going for. The city council, for the first time in years, and I wonder sometimes if it's ever happened, approved unanimously a strategic plan that will have us beginning work for the first time in 20 years on a Salem comprehensive plan, for the first time ever on a climate action plan, a plan for working with Chariots to assist and work with them in areas of city policy where we can work on improving service, particularly weekend evening service, the need for that. We're going to review in depth the city's long-term infrastructure needs, and we will continue to work on homelessness and affordable housing, and this will be a theme for mayors for years to come, I think. And finally, I want to talk to you about a problem I see on the horizon that I'm very concerned about, and I want to share it with you as community leaders so you can share the late night, sleepless night over this with me. And that is the potential impact of activity at Detroit Reservoir on this city's water supply. And I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but there are projects planned up at Detroit Reservoir that our water quality folks have done a substantial review in cooperation with our colleagues at Marion County and others that indicate we face potential water shortages, guaranteed impact on water quality that is going to cost, if this all occurs, millions of dollars to ratepayers in this community to change our really successful, 60, 80-year-old sand filtration water treatment system that gives us some of the purest, best tasting water in the world. We're going to start pre-treating that because it won't work if they get to go ahead with their project. This is going to affect every community that draws water from the North City. Those of you who don't understand our water system since pioneer days, statehood, we have owned most of the water rights in the North Sandiam River for your drinking water. And it has been an enormously successful situation. To lose that it's quality, it's quantity. We don't have a backup system for that, just to be quite honest. We can deal with a few days or week without direct access to that river. If we can't get into that river for some sustained period of time, you know, it's Fiji water for all of us, I guess. It's a real problem, and I'm very, very concerned about it. It'll be a major issue, I think, through 2018 and 19. I'll be talking to you and other groups throughout the year about this issue. I hope you will pay attention to it. This isn't one of those maybes or could be's or what ifs. This is a if the Corps of Engineers moves ahead, we've got a problem. So please join me in, I hope, concern over this. I'd be glad to answer any questions. There are issue areas I didn't get a chance to talk about. I didn't get to talk about arts in our community, the tremendous value there, and the importance of arts. I still would like to talk more about the street system. And oh my gosh, someday, Kara, we'll fix those sidewalks. Chris will get you sidewalks, and we'll continue to work on that issue. And someday we'll figure out how to deal with traffic moving back and forth between West and East Salem. So thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
We have just a little bit of time for maybe one or two questions. We have a mic runner there, so if you have a question, just raise your hand, and she'll come to you. So I see TJ's first.
Thanks. Chuck, thanks for being our mayor and for dedicating all the time that you do to that job. I know that it's a lot of work, so thank you for that. Question is, you know, you can look back and see decisions that staff and council made 10 and 15 years ago are really benefiting Salem residents today.
Yes.
And it seems prudent to me that we would at least be taking steps to put ourselves in a position that if residents need to invest in a third bridge in the future, that we would be able to. What's the next step that we need to do as a city to advance that forward so that if we need to make that investment in the future that we're able to?
Well, the only action left, really, I think, is probably to complete the environmental impact statement. And yeah, we're working on these issues. These are complicated issues. They have both long-term impact in terms of how you think this community is going to grow. They have fiscal impact depending on the size of the project. They have some environmental impacts. But there are a series of issues that we're working on resolving, and I think we're headed the right direction. It's just taking some time. We're all patient. 50 years, God, you got to be patient after this many years, folks. So we're trying. Well, great. Thank you again very much.
I'd like to thank Mayor Bennett for all the work he does on our behalf throughout the community, and on behalf of Salem City Club, the Downtown Salem Rotary Club, and the Salem Area Chamber of Commerce. We'd like to present these flowers to you, and please accept them with our thanks. I'd like to thank the city staff for helping arrange today's event. I'd also like to thank Allied Video for the taping and CCTV for airing and the live streaming on Facebook this afternoon. Also thank the Convention Center for hosting today's activity. And of course, thank you to our three sponsors, Salem Area Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary Club of Salem, and Salem City Club. Thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate you being here, and we are adjourned.